Welcome back. We're going to do, it's a bit of an unusual one. It's called the 5 Tibetans, so you might have heard of it. It's actually a very good practice for you. It's really good for stimulating the endocrine system. It's really good for balancing out all the meridians and getting the energy flowing. And it's something that I personally do every morning before I get out of the bedroom, before I try and deal with my kids and deal with the day. The first movement is going to seem quite unusual, but its intention is to help set about the correct spin and rotation of our chakras. So if you are familiar with the chakras, or you're familiar with the meridian system, you will know that we have 7 chakras throughout our spine. There are actually multiple chakras throughout the whole body, but they're more considered minor chakras. So this Tibetan movement is helping to set about the motion of the first major ones, which are the 7 that go along our spine. So there's 5 different Tibetan rites that we practice, and at the end of each rite we usually pause and we have an intention or an affirmation that we can choose ourselves, or there are ones that you can go on the net and look for. I personally prefer to use my own ones. It's up to you what you would like to do. My first intention that I always usually start with is after I have done the spin chakra movement, I will always say something along the lines of I'm open to giving and receiving the universal energy, or I'm open to giving and receiving love, something along those lines. And then from there, I've got other ones that are more geared towards my own personal needs, so things about my health, that kinds of things, about my family. So you can choose the affirmations that you want to have. So for the purpose of today, I haven't actually included the affirmations, but I will say to you, and I'll say this is where you put an affirmation after the first one. You'll get the idea of where they go. This practice doesn't take long. I think maybe 3-4 minutes in the morning. It's something it's really easy to do. So when you're doing these Tibetan rites, traditionally you would never ever do more than 21 of each movement, because to do more than that would actually be to disrupt the system and disrupt the energy, the chi flowing through your body. So I'm going to do this with 3 of each movement. I would probably sort of say, if you're starting off, you've never done it, start off with like 2 to 3 each movement each morning, and then you build up. So I wouldn't say you build up like jumping by 3 or 4 each day. Just add 1 or 2 until you get to a point where you feel comfortable. And it's kind of interesting because everyone that I know that does these has different amounts that they do, and you can tell within your own body what your body would like you to do. So choose based on that. So you don't have a mat for this one really, but I mean it does help with one of the movements, but it's not crucial. So we start in our standing position, nothing fancy. We start in our mountain pose, and we're going to extend our arms outwards. And what we want to do is we're going to rotate clockwise. Now I'm not sure how this video goes because I'm recording on a computer. Obviously things get flipped around and reversed. So for example, that bag which you're seeing on that side of the room is actually on the other side of the room. So what you're going to have to do is your own self turn clockwise, okay? So you're facing 12 o'clock. So for the first rite, you're going to spin clockwise. And so we're going to do 3 rotations, and that would be 3 of the first rite. So you would just turn 1, 2, 3. And then here I would stop, close down the eyes, breathe in and out gently, and then I would say to myself, I am open to giving and receiving the universal energy. I am open to giving and receiving in my daily life. And then the next movement, we're going to be on the ground. And with this one, it's going to depend on how your back strength and core strength is. So for myself, I've got some issues with my core at the moment, so I find it very difficult to just raise my legs directly up. So I tend to use a bending motion on the knee. So I'll show you what you're going to try and do. So you're going to be lying on your back. You're going to have your arms extended over your head. And what you want to be doing is you're going to raise your legs directly up, and you're going to touch your toes at the same time. And that's one movement. And then you bring it down. If you find it difficult to raise your legs directly up, then you can bend on the way up and then touch your toes. If you have, especially when it's come out of pregnancy and they have a diastasis, which is what I've ended up with, that direct movement of coming straight up can be very strong and put a lot of pressure on that diastasis. So if you do have that, my modification would be not to lift the head, keep the head down, bend the knees to your chest first, and then bring your feet up. And again, keeping the head down. And that will be a much safer movement for you. So we're going to do 3 of those. So that's 1, 2, and 3. And then again, just relaxing for a moment, saying the affirmation that you've chosen, and then breathing in and out, allowing the body to relax. And it's important, this relaxation process. I know there's a lot of lying down and relaxing in yoga. It's actually a very important thing we're trying to do, is bringing our body constantly back into a parasympathetic behaviour so that we can be in that rest and digest rather than flight or fight. So the next movement, and really these movements don't have to actually be done in any particular order. So the next movement I always do is actually technically out of order from what I was taught by my teacher. But again, she said the same thing to me, do it any order you like as long as you get them done. So we're going to start in Tadasana. We're going to have our hands next to us. Back is going to be straight, feet in front. And as we inhale, we're going to make a table with our body. So we're going to inhale, we're going to bring our body up, lifting, head goes back. Exhaling, bringing the bum back down. Inhaling up, exhaling back down. One more time, inhaling up, and then exhaling. And again, bring your hands to an open position. And I purposely are doing this because in doing that, I'm symbolising that, you know, I'm open to receiving energy. If you feel like you're having a quite tired day, or you're not feeling like you can deal with giving, which is, you know, quite often especially if you're a mother, you give a lot, we always put our hands onto our body, and that allows the energy in our body to circulate back within itself. So repeating your affirmation, and then closing down the eyes, having a few calm breaths to bring the heart rate back down again. Again, we're going into that rest and digest as much as possible. And then our next movement will come on our knees, and this is the camel. So essentially we are going to be leaning back. So a couple of things to think about here. If you have any back issues, if you have any kind of operations on your fusing, then you need to be very cautious of this, and then only lean very gently back. Always put your hands onto your lower back, and we kind of create like a V, so we're really creating a supporting shape within our lower back. So I'll show you again. I've got my hands spread wide, quite around, but my fingers pointing down towards our sacrum. And so we're going to start off with our head down, and we're going to inhale with the chest forward. So it's not about going backwards so much as inhaling with the chest forward, opening the shoulders and tilting the head back. And we're trying to stimulate actually our thyroid in doing these movements. So we're inhaling and then exhaling forward. Inhaling and then exhaling forward. And one more. Inhaling and exhaling forward. Coming down. And again, hands up or down. Repeating your affirmation. Inhaling. Sorry, you can probably hear doors slamming. The kids are trying to have a bath, I think. I don't think it's going very well. And then for our last movement, this one you'll be familiar with. This is downward dog. And we're going from downward dog into a forward dog, or up dog, some people call it. There's lots of different names. So when we do this one, again, this is a thing that if you have any kind of back issues, you're going to want to do a modified version. This, I'll show you the original, and then I'll show you a modification that you can use. So starting off, we're going to bring our body up. So inhaling and then exhale into our downward dog. And then from here, we're going to inhale. As we come forward, we're going to flip onto the front of our feet. We want to stimulate chakras on the tops of our feet, and then coming into our up dog. You'll notice I'm hovering. And then inhaling, lifting up. That's one movement. 2. Our modification for this would be to come down, bring the knees to the ground, flip the feet over, and just do like in a cobra. If that's too strong for you, bring your hands much more forward so that you're doing a gentle cobra. Bring the hips onto the ground and just the upper body a little bit. And then when you're coming back into the downward dog, move through a child pose, move the hands, and then come up. So depending on where you're up to, you may have already done three of those. And then just coming into either a child pose to stretch out the back. And then coming up. And again, up or down hands. And repeating an affirmation that you've chosen for yourself. And then just bringing the breath into a calm rhythm. And that's your 5 Tibetans. So if you have any interest, you can go online. There's loads and loads of information about this. There's also loads of people trying to flog you books and all sorts of stuff. They shouldn't really be doing that. It's a quite easy thing for you to get the free information out there nowadays. So don't go and buy anything you don't need. So hope you've enjoyed that. Practice your 5 Tibetans every day. Try and move up, to a number that feels good to you. Hopefully you'll notice some benefit. There are loads of research and loads of studies that have been done talking about the benefits to the endocrine system, the nervous system, helps to stimulate lots of things, gets the cardiovascular system working in the morning. Loads of different benefits. Obviously, any of those would be a great one, so feel free to try and get into them